A lot of us who love and keep reptiles became interested in them because we love mythical beasts. Maybe it's dragons or maybe it's Pokemon, but it turns out that there's 10 Pokemon you can actually keep as pets. As a kid, I was obsessed with Pokemon. Now keep in mind, I'm in my mid-30s, so it was generation 1 and maybe a little bit of 2, but in this list, I want to make it for everybody. So we're going all the way to generation 8, which I didn't even think was, I didn't know that was a thing. Also, people still play Pokemon Go. I didn't know that either. Starting off with number 10, Kecleon. Now Kecleon, when you look, is clearly a chameleon. This is a 3rd gen Pokemon, which by the way, was 2001. What? Anyway, it's a big color change type Pokemon with ridges over its eyes, and yellow lips. So clearly to me, it's a chameleon, but what type? A Parson's chameleon. Either an orange eye or probably a yellow lip Parson's chameleon. Yellow-lipped Parson's chameleons are generally thought to be the largest chameleon in the entire world. They're found in the forests of Madagascar. I was lucky enough to find them, and when I first saw one, I couldn't even believe what I was looking at. It looked like a tree triceratops. I mean, look at me holding this animal. The males have insane crests on them. Their feet are so strong. They've got crazy claws. Their grip strength is amazing, and the tongue on them is insanely long. They are big enough that they don't eat just insects, but little lizards too. So if you find a baby chameleon next to one of these giant Parson's chameleons, chances are that big one is looking for lunch and the little one might be it. Number 9 is Druddigon, a 5th generation Pokemon with crazy sharp angles all over the place, these kind of sailish fin-like things all over them, a dragon type Pokemon that is around 5 feet. Well, it turns out there's a lizard you can keep that looks very similar, the Sailfin Dragon. Hydrosaurus is the Latin name, and of course, this isn't exactly a match, but if you look at one of these animals, a Sailfin Dragon, you'd think for sure this is a dinosaur or some sort of dragon, a mythical creature, because in my wildest imagination, if I were to draw a lizard, only seeing like, I don't know, a knoll ever before, like never seeing one of these, I would never in a million years imagine there would be a sail on one of them, on their back, and that crazy looking look about their eyes, that appendage on their nose. This is a true real life dragon that if you have the space, you can keep as a pet. They're semi-arboreal and semi-aquatic, which means that it is going to be a lot of space. You're gonna need tons of space to keep one. Not the best pet for most people, but if I could have one, if I had all the space in the world, if I had a zoo, I would definitely have several because they're freaking amazing. Coming in at number 8, by the way, I told you that I'm old. If I mispronounce one, like this one, Jangamo-O, Jangamo-O, Jangamo? This little creature is a Gen 7. Crazy buggy eyes, a funny little knobby looking tail, a tiny little creature, and of course this reminds me of, well, a knobtail gecko. Clearly. Knobtail geckos are from Australia. They're bright orange in some cases. Other species can be a little bit more drab. They've got insane looking eyes, big eyes. And because they're so small, it's just more pronounced. Plus, they're an arid species, just like the Pokemon we're comparing them to, and they have that little knob tail that looks almost identical. A great species for you to have. They're a little bit feisty, but I could take these out and film them and photograph them all day. They are absolutely stunning creatures, and they have a little bit of attitude, just like you'd expect. Number 7, Squirtle. Now this is an obvious one. Squirtle is a Gen 1 Pokemon, one that was my go-to in 1998 when I had the original Game Boy Color, Pokemon Blue over Red, by the way. In 3rd grade, me fell in love with Squirtle. Of course, Squirtle evolves into Wartortle and Blastoise, and I actually do have a Squirtle, a Wartortle, and a Blastoise, my Redfoot tortoises. But I think if you want one that looks more like this Pokemon truly, get yourself a Musk Turtle. Mud turtles look so much like Squirtle. These little tiny turtles. And if you want a turtle pet that's aquatic, this is probably the best one for most people because they're not readily available where people are just getting rid of them willy-nilly. So if you buy one and you want to rehome it, you're for sure not letting it go. They're kind of expensive. but also you can keep them in 75-gallon aquariums, where if you want to ready your slider or something like that, you certainly cannot do that. It's not enough water, it's going to be stinky, your whole house is going to smell like a turtle tank. And I'm pretty sure Ash Ketchum's place didn't smell like a Squirtle tank. Now, the idea of keeping these animals that look like Pokemon is super duper fun, even if you're just thinking about it. But if you're actually looking for one of these animals, they can be difficult to find unless you check out my new favorite app, Palm Street. Palm Street is, in my opinion, the best way to get yourself a new reptile friend. All my friends are on it, I'm on it. I feel like we're at the beginning of something big. A true community where other places, maybe you feel like, am I getting scammed? Is this person a real person? Is this animal really what I'm getting? With a live auction, the way Palm Street does it, the person who you're buying from or potentially buying from shows you the exact animal that you're about to get. You can ask questions in real time on the chat. They'll tell you, they'll turn the animal around. Hey, I want to see the head crest a little bit more. They'll turn it around for you. Hey, can you show me that other animal that you're about to show? It's kind of like a conversation live that helps you with your buying decision. Because if it's just a regular marketplace, maybe, you know, I want to ask a question, but if I send an email, maybe it'll be sold before I get an answer. This is instant answers, and then you place your bid, and if you're the highest bidder at the end of the auction, which is only a few minutes, by the way, you have yourself a brand new friend. And right now is a fantastic time to try it out. There are new species that I see more and more of every single week on Palm Street. And if you're looking for a way to sell your reptiles, I've got a special link for you in the description below. And if you're looking to buy yourself one of these cool reptiles, Palm Street is looking for you. And there's a link for you down below too. Number 6, Heliolisk, which is a Gen 6 Pokemon, and very clear when you look what this is. It's a frilled animal, a frilled Pokemon that likes it more arid, has a dry skin, and is a solar powered creature, just like the frilled dragon. I have 3 frilled dragons, and let me tell you, I will never not have one. They have that crazy frill, depending on which one you get, in Indonesian or an Australian, they can be more yellow in color, like you see with the Heliolisk. They are definitely solar powered, they both love the sun, and Heliolisk has a dry skin, I read about and for sure knew before this video. So that makes me think an Australian frilled dragon because they like it a lot more arid than the Indonesian frilled dragons. I've got both, they're both freaking amazing. You can have either one, I don't think it's gonna matter. I mean, this is a 3-foot Pokemon and they get to be about 3 foot, the Australian ones, so it's kind of perfect. Frilled dragons are semi-arboreal, they need a lot of space. We're making a crazy enclosure at the back. I've been teasing for so long that the glass is coming tomorrow so we can finish it up. And it is a 300-gallon enclosure for one of these guys. So I mean, they're big and they're solar powered, so get good lighting. But for sure, this is a frilled dragon, no questions asked, and an amazing pet lizard that I would love to do more videos about. You wanna see more videos about frillies? Let me know in the comments section below. Number 5, Dreepy. Dreepy is clearly a salamander-looking animal, a Gen 8 Pokemon that is tiny and has that weird, almost like hammerhead-looking face on it. Now, I'm not going to compare this to one of those hammerhead worms that I'm sure you've seen on TikTok or YouTube Shorts. Instead, I think this is more like a ridge-headed salamander, which you're barely ever going to see in captivity. Very unlikely you'll find them, but I wanted to highlight them because I found them in Costa Rica 4 years ago, and they're the coolest freaking thing, okay? Crazy looking head. They can move their head all different ways. They flick their tongue out kind of like a chameleon would, and they love ants. So it's a ridge-headed salamander, obviously. Number 4, Venusaur. I didn't even mean to make that rhyme, but I'm a poet and didn't even know it. Venusaur is the biggest of the Bulbasaur evolutionary tract, right? Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. Now, Venusaur to me looks kind of like a toad with a flower on its back, almost, you know? I know it's this big giant creature in real life, and if you played Pokemon Stadium on Nintendo 64 in like the year 2000, you know that they're much bigger than people and giant and make big sounds when they move. But truly, I think that Venusaur is just a upscaled toad. You can pick whatever one you like. Big toad, little toad, spadefoot toad. Either way, it's just a big toad, you know, with like powers, and they can do the hyper beam thing. But either way, if you want a Venusaur in a small package that's reasonable, just get yourself a toad. There's so many freaking cool ones, amazing ones, but spadefoot toads are probably my favorite. Number 3, Grovyle, a 3rd gen Pokemon. It is a lizard that's kind of like a reasonable size, a little bit on the small side, very cool looking. Evolved from Trico, which is clearly some sort of gecko, but either way, Grovyle goes from tree to tree, kind of glides through the air. And although there are no real lizards that can fly in real life like a dragon, there is the Draco lizard, Draco lizards are super cool. Tiny little lizards from Southeast Asia, places like Thailand, where we found this one that you're looking at here, and they glide from tree to tree. They do this to either get themselves a meal or to defend themselves from becoming a meal, because in that part of the world, there's also flying snakes and flying geckos and flying frogs. Oh, and by the way, that skinny little enclosure, Slim Shady we're calling it, that enclosure is for flying frogs. You can guess in the comment section which species though, but because there's a few. Either way, Dracos are cool. The problem is in captivity, you're never gonna have an enclosure big enough. Unless your name is Zach from A Life Exotic, who has that giant greenhouse, he could probably have Dracos and they would actually be able to fly or like glide. But generally they need lots and lots of space, like several meters in order to glide like that. So if you get one in captivity, don't expect to see that. You can still pull their little flaps out, right? That's all it is, it's just flaps on their ribs, you know? And like the backs of their legs and stuff that they use as rudders. But either way, super cool. Obviously, this Pokemon is this lizard. Number 2, Salazzle, a Generation 7 Pokemon, maybe the sassiest looking Pokemon I've ever seen. And this is clearly a Black Dragon Asian Water Monitor. They're both huge, about 4 feet. Asian Water Monitors actually get quite a bit bigger. But the Black Dragons, they don't have the purple on them like you see with the Pokemon, but they do look pretty darn sassy. The point is, Black Dragons are big Asian Water Monitors. I did a video last week right here, not all about them, but they were included in the video. And let me tell you, they're pretty bad for most people. However, if you're one of those guys who wants to have one really big, really impressive animal and dedicate an entire room to it, there are people out there like that, and I love watching them on social media, then Black Dragons might be for you. They're the coolest looking dragon looking thing that I've ever seen. And of all the big monitors, Asian Water Monitors are probably the best, but they can be a little bit sassy, just like the Pokemon. Number 1, Silicobra. This is, by the way, the third in the Pokemon series that I've done. I do one every 2 years or so. And everybody wanted Silicobra, which is a Generation 8 Pokemon, which I would never guess because that's brand new. And everyone says it looks like a hognose snake, or maybe a cobra. But to me, a Silicobra, because it has that like bulge, kind of, looks like an egg-eating snake. From this picture right here, where egg-eating snakes take an egg into their mouth, about like this far down, into their neck. They poke it with a protrusion that's on the back of one of their vertebrae. They suck out all the yolk and then spit the shell back out. So to me, this looks like an African egg-eating snake, which are cool. There's 2 different species of them. They're both very, very similar. They're great pets. They don't have teeth, although they will try to bite you, but they don't have teeth. So, I mean, I don't know what that would feel like, but probably nothing. Actually, maybe Trico is a Fiji banded iguana. I really thought about that. I just try to like shoehorn Fiji banded iguanas in every episode that I possibly can. Anyway, African egg-eating snakes also do this sidewinding thing where they rub their scales on each other, like or on themselves, and make crazy noises. And they have that bluff strike with that huge gaping mouth. I think they're awesome. I think they're swell. And I think that you should hit the like and subscribe button because we do videos twice a week on Mondays and Fridays.